kill her family, or lose everything you'll ever inherit. 13-year-old Shinwoo stared at his father, then at Star Paisley crying in the corner, and made a choice that would cost him 15 years. He dropped the weapon, refused the order, and his father destroyed him for it, ripping Star away, beating him unconscious, promising he'd never see her again. But 15 years later, Kang Shinwoo controlled the entire Korean underworld. And tonight, his Black Queen was about to discover that the boy who'd sacrificed everything hadn't forgotten a single promise. If you believe love should never be destroyed by prejudice and power, hit that subscribe button for Ebony and Pearl stories. Only people who think racism and family cruelty are okay will skip this. Comment "Find her" if you're rooting for Shinwoo to get his queen back. Let's prove love wins. 14 years and 10 months earlier, Seoul International Academy buzzed with its usual controlled chaos. Kang Shinwoo, 12 years old and already fluent in 4 languages, sat in the corner of the library reading advanced economics texts his tutors assigned. His father had been grooming him for the family business since he could walk, though Shinwoo knew the construction company was just a front for something darker. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" He looked up. A girl stood there, holding a stack of architecture books that threatened to topple over. She had deep brown skin that caught the afternoon sunlight streaming through the windows, natural coils pulled back into a ponytail, and the brightest smile he'd ever seen. "No," he managed. She dropped into the chair with zero grace, books scattering across the table. "Perfect.
I'm
Star Paisley. Just moved here from Atlanta." She stuck out her hand. Shinwoo stared at it. In his world, 12-year-olds didn't shake hands, they bowed. But something about her confidence made him reach out. Her palm was warm. "Kang Shinwoo." "Kang Shinwoo," she repeated, butchering the pronunciation completely. "Did I say that right?" "Not even close." For the first time in months, he smiled. "But you can call me Shin."
Shin.
"I like that." She leaned forward, genuinely curious. "So, what's a 12-year-old doing reading?" She squinted at his book. "Corporate finance?" "Preparing for my future." "That's depressing." She laughed, and the sound was so free, so uncontrolled, that the librarian shot them a warning glare. Star didn't even notice. "You know what I'm preparing for? Designing buildings that make people feel something. Creating spaces where everyone belongs." Everyone. His tutors had taught him the world didn't work that way. "Everyone," she said firmly. "Rich, poor, Korean, American, Black, white. Everyone deserves beautiful spaces." Shinwoo thought about his father's world, where people were divided into useful and disposable. "That sounds impossible." "Then I'll do the impossible." She grinned. "Want to help me with my Korean homework? I'll help you remember how to be a kid." That afternoon, instead of going to his usual Taekwondo lesson, Shinwoo helped Star with her terrible Korean pronunciation. She taught him American slang that would have made his tutors faint. They laughed until their stomachs hurt. When his driver arrived to pick him up, Star waved enthusiastically. "Same time tomorrow." "I have violin practice tomorrow." "Boring." "Skip it. I'm going to Han River Park to sketch." "Come with me." He should have said no. His schedule was planned down to the minute. But Star Paisley made freedom look easy. Okay. That was his first rebellion. The first of many. For 6 months, they were inseparable. Star introduced him to hip-hop music that his classical training made him appreciate differently. He introduced her to Korean cinema. She dragged him to street food stalls where he ate tteokbokki that his personal chef would have been horrified by. He brought her to art galleries where she critiqued everything with the confidence of someone who trusted her own vision. "Why do you always look so sad, Shin?" she asked one evening at Han River Park, their favorite spot. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. "I'm not sad." "You are. Even when you're smiling, there's something heavy about you." He wanted to tell her everything. About the late-night meetings his father held in their basement. The men who visited with briefcases full of cash. The way his father talked about problems being eliminated. But at 12 years old, he didn't have the words yet. My family has expectations, he said carefully. Expectations are just other people's dreams forced onto you. Star bumped his shoulder with hers. What do you want, Shinwoo? No one had ever asked him that. I want to feel like this all the time.
Free.
Like nothing heavy exists. Then stay free. She pulled out her sketchbook and drew quickly, rough lines that somehow captured the essence of the river, the city, them sitting on this bench. This is you when you're with me. Remember this version of yourself, okay? When everything gets heavy again. She tore out the page and gave it to him. He folded it carefully and put it in his wallet. That drawing would survive the next 15 years. Through everything that came after. By their 13th birthday month, they were born 2 weeks apart. Shinwoo realized what he felt wasn't just friendship. Star Paisley had become his entire world. She was laughter and light in a life that had been all shadows and discipline. I need to tell you something, he said one afternoon. Me too, she said, grinning nervously. You first. No, you. They spoke at the same time. I really like you. Then they both laughed, embarrassed and relieved. Shinwoo took her hand. So, what do we do now? We promised to always be honest with each other.
No secrets.
She squeezed his fingers.
Deal. Deal.
But there was one secret he couldn't share yet. The truth about his father's organization. The violence Shinwoo had witnessed that no 13-year-old should see. 3 months later, that secret detonated his world. His father's head of security found them at Han River Park, holding hands and sharing earbuds, listening to music. The man's face was grim. Your father wants you home.
Now.
Shinwoo knew that tone. Something bad had happened. When he arrived home, his father sat in his study, face cold.
Seat.
Shinwoo sat. I've been patient with your little friendship, but it ends tonight. What are you talking about? The Paisley family. They're leaving Korea. Their visas have been revoked. Shinwoo's blood went cold. You did this. I did what was necessary. You're 13 years old, Shinwoo, and you're distracted by a girl who has no place in our world. You think I don't see how you've changed? Skipping lessons, questioning orders, talking about what you want. His father's laugh was bitter. She's made you soft. She hasn't. You're my heir. The next leader of this organization. You don't get to have weakness. And that girl is your weakness. Shinwoo stood, shaking with rage. I love her. His father's hand moved so fast Shinwoo didn't see it coming. The slap knocked him back into his chair. You're a child. You don't know what love is. Now her family leaves tonight, or I make sure they never leave at all. Your choice. That's when Shinwoo saw the gun on the desk. Within reach. He grabbed it, hands trembling, pointing it at his own father. Call it off. His father didn't even flinch. Instead, he pulled out his phone and made a call. 5 minutes later, his men dragged Star and her parents into the room. Put the gun down, son, or I have them killed right here. The weapon fell from Shinwoo's hands. As they dragged Star away, she was crying, screaming his name, and he shouted back that impossible promise. 15 years. I'll wait. I'll find you. His father struck him across the face with a gun. You just chose love over power. That weakness will be beaten out of you. And it was. Over the next 15 years, his father tried to break him. Brutal training, forcing him to witness violence, making him participate in the darkness. But Kang Shinwoo never forgot his promise. And he never stopped loving Star Paisley. Drop a comment saying, family cruelty, if you can't stand parents who destroy their kids' happiness for power. Hit like if you believe Shinwoo's father is the villain here. Trolls who think kids should just obey toxic parents won't engage. Are you a troll? Prove you're not. Atlanta, Georgia. 3 years after the separation. Star Paisley stood in her new American high school bathroom, staring at her reflection. 16 years old, and she barely recognized herself. The girl who used to laugh freely, who'd believed she could design buildings that brought people together. Where had she gone? You coming to the party tonight? Her friend Maya asked, applying lipstick. Marcus has been asking about you. Not interested. Girl, you haven't been interested in anyone for 3 years. It's getting weird. How could Star explain that she'd left her heart and soul with a boy who'd probably forgotten her by now? How could she tell anyone about the silver ring Shinwoo had slipped onto her finger the day before she left, whispering, "Wait for me," in Korean? She still wore it, every single day. I'm just focused on my portfolio for architecture programs, Star said, which was partly true. Designing had become her escape. Every building she sketched, she imagined Shinwoo walking through its doors. Maya sighed. Marcus is a good guy. Rich family, captain of the basketball team. I said no. But Marcus Thompson didn't take no for an answer. For the next 6 months, he pursued Star relentlessly. Flowers in her locker. Public gestures. His friends calling her stuck up for refusing him. Finally, her mother sat her down. Baby, I know you're hung up on that Korean boy, Shinwoo. But he's not coming back. His family made that very clear. You need to move forward. Star knew her mother was right. She'd tried finding Shinwoo online, nothing. Tried calling the number he'd given her, disconnected. Tried writing to his old address. Letters returned unopened. Maybe he had forgotten. So when Marcus asked her to homecoming, she said yes. The date was fine. Marcus was handsome and confident and kept trying to impress her with his family's wealth. He was nothing like Shinwoo. But maybe that was okay. Maybe she needed to let go. I really like you, Star, Marcus said, walking her to her door. Give me a chance? She looked down at the silver ring on her finger. Slowly, she started to slide it off. Then her phone buzzed. Unknown number. 더 메시지 was in Korean. 나는 아직도 기다리고 있어. I'm still waiting. Her hands shook. Shin. Another message. 15 years. I promised. Never doubt me. Star looked at Marcus. I can't do this. I'm sorry. My heart belongs to someone else. She ran inside, tears streaming, typing back desperately. I'm waiting too. Find me. But when she tried to call the number, it was already disconnected. Like he'd used a burner phone just to send that message. To remind her she wasn't alone in this wait.
Seoul, Korea.
5 years after the separation. Kang Shinwoo, 18 years old, stood over the body of a rival gang member his father had ordered him to eliminate. This was his test, kill or be killed. Prove you're worthy of leading this organization. The gun felt heavy in his hand. Do it, his father commanded from the shadows. Shinwoo's finger moved to the trigger. Then he thought of Star's voice. You should do things because you want to, not because you have to. He lowered the gun.
No.
His father's rage was nuclear. You dare refuse me? I refuse to become you. The beating that followed put Shinwoo in the hospital for 3 days. But when he woke up, his father was sitting by his bed with an expression Shinwoo had never seen before. Respect. You have conviction, his father said quietly. That's rare. Stupid, but rare. Then let me go. I can't. You're my heir. But... His father paused, considering. You want to lead differently?
Fine.
Prove you can build this empire without losing your soul. You have 10 years. Make us the most powerful family in Seoul through legitimate business. If you succeed, I'll step down and you can run things your way. It was a trap, obviously. His father would never truly step down. But Shinwoo took the deal because it bought him time. Time to build power. Time to find Star. Time to become someone who could protect her. For the next 10 years, he worked like a man possessed. He legitimized the family businesses, investing in real estate, technology, entertainment. He studied at Seoul National University while running operations. He transformed the Kong organization from pure criminal enterprise into something that straddled the line. Dangerous, powerful, but technically legal. His father watched, waiting for him to fail. Instead, by age 28, Shinwoo had tripled their wealth. The Kong family was now one of the most influential in Korea, and people whispered about the young boss who'd revolutionized the game. But success meant nothing without her. He'd hired private investigators to track Star. She'd graduated from Georgia Tech with honors in architecture, started her own small firm in Atlanta, won awards for community-focused design. She was living the dream she'd told him about at 12 years old. And according to his investigators, she was single. Still single after all these years. The silver ring he'd given her? She wore it in every photo. Shinwoo touched his own matching ring. He had a pair made when they were 13. His had never left his finger. Are you really going to wait 15 years for a girl you knew for 6 months? His second-in-command asked. She wasn't just a girl. She was the last moment I felt fully human. And I promised, your father will never let you marry her. Shinwoo's smile was cold. My father doesn't get a vote anymore. At 28, he staged a careful, calculated coup. Not violent, he'd learned better tactics. He recorded years of his father's illegal operations and presented them to the board with an ultimatum: retire peacefully or face prosecution. His father, cornered, stepped down. Kong Shinwoo became the head of the family empire, the youngest boss in their history. And he was finally free to find his queen. Atlanta, Georgia. 14 years and 11 months after the separation, Star Paisley sat in her firm's office, reviewing blueprints for a community center in a historically Black neighborhood. At 27, she'd built a reputation for designing spaces that honored culture and brought people together, exactly what she'd dreamed about as a kid. But there was an emptiness in her success. A Shinwoo-shaped hole that 15 years hadn't filled. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Again. She answered, heart pounding. Hello. Miss Paisley. A woman's professional voice. I'm calling on behalf of the Kong Corporation in Seoul. We're hosting an international architecture conference next month, and we'd like to invite you as a featured speaker. Star's breath caught. Kong Corporation? Yes, ma'am. All expenses paid. We've been following your work and... Who authorized this invitation? A pause. Our CEO personally requested you. Mr. Kong Shinwoo. The room spun. 15 years. And he'd kept his promise. I'll be there, Star whispered. Excellent. We'll send details. Mr. Kong looks forward to reconnecting. When she hung up, Star looked down at her silver ring. Then she did something she hadn't done in years. She laughed. That free, uncontrolled laugh from her childhood. He'd found her. Finally. Comment, patience wins if you believe real love is worth the wait. Hit that like button if you can't stand people who give up on soulmates. Only quitters and people who settle for less won't engage. You're not a quitter, are you? Prove it. The conference hall in Seoul sparkled with luxury. Star Paisley stood backstage, hands trembling, wearing a custom-designed dress that her best friend had insisted she buy. 28 years old, internationally recognized architect, and she felt exactly like the 13-year-old girl saying goodbye at an airport. Miss Paisley, you're on in 5 minutes. 5 minutes until she walked onto that stage. 5 minutes until she saw him again. What if he'd changed completely? What if 15 years had turned the gentle boy she loved into someone unrecognizable? The Kong Corporation's reputation preceded them. Power, influence, whispers of a darker past. But none of that mattered when the moderator announced, Please welcome the CEO of Kong Corporation, Kong Shinwoo. He walked on stage, and Star's heart stopped. Shinwoo had transformed from boy to man. Taller, broader, wearing a suit that probably cost more than her car. His hair styled perfectly, his presence commanding the attention of everyone in the room. But his eyes, those eyes were exactly the same. Dark and intense, and searching the audience until they found her backstage. Their gazes locked. The world disappeared. He stumbled over his opening remarks, which made several attendees chuckle, the powerful CEO suddenly nervous. But Star understood. He was as overwhelmed as she was. When it was her turn to present, she walked onto that stage on shaking legs. They stood 5 feet apart. The moderator introduced her, but Shinwoo wasn't listening. He was staring at her hand, at the silver ring she still wore. His hand clenched into a fist, and she saw it. The matching ring. Miss Paisley, would you like to begin? The moderator prompted. Yes, sorry. She cleared her throat, trying to focus on her presentation about culturally responsive architecture. But every few sentences, her eyes would drift to Shinwoo, and she'd lose her train of thought. The audience thought it was charming, the young architect nervous in front of the powerful CEO. They had no idea it was 15 years of longing compressed into 30 excruciating minutes. After the panel, before she could escape backstage, Shinwoo's hand caught her wrist. His touch sent electricity through her entire body. Don't run, he said in English, accent thick and perfect. Not again. I wasn't. Dinner. Tonight. I'm not asking Star. I've waited too long to negotiate. His intensity should have intimidated her. Instead, it made her laugh, that same free laugh from childhood. You've gotten bossy. His expression softened. You've gotten more beautiful. The restaurant was private, exclusive, the kind of place that required reservations months in advance. Shinwoo had rented the entire space. Just them, candlelight, and 15 years of unspoken words. They sat across from each other, and suddenly Star didn't know what to say. Where did you even start? You kept the ring, Shinwoo said finally. You kept yours. I made a promise. So did I. Silence. Then they both started laughing, the tension breaking slightly. This is insane, Star said. We're adults now, Shin. We barely knew each other. 6 months when we were kids. We knew each other better in 6 months than most people do in a lifetime. He leaned forward. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me you forgot me. I didn't forget. Did you date anyone? The question was sharp, possessive. She could lie, make herself seem less pathetic. But they'd promised honesty as 13-year-olds. I tried. Once. A guy named Marcus in high school. I lasted 3 dates before I realized I was comparing him to you. To a memory. Shinwoo's jaw tightened. I need his name. Why? So I can thank him for failing to replace me. She laughed despite herself. What about you? The powerful CEO, I'm sure you had options. His expression went dark. My world isn't a place for relationships, Star. The things I've had to do to survive, to gain enough power to come find you. He paused. I'm not the boy you remember. I've made choices that would horrify the girl who believed everyone deserves beautiful spaces. Try me. My family is dangerous. The legitimate business is real, but the old connections remain. People fear me, respect me, but not because I'm kind. Were you ever going to tell me this before bringing me here?
No.
His honesty cut. I was going to seduce you back into my life, marry you immediately, and protect you from ever knowing the details. Star stood up. I'm not 13 anymore, Shin. I don't need protecting. I need honesty. He stood too, moving around the table. You want honesty? Fine. My father's organization killed people. I witnessed murders. I was trained to take over an empire built on fear. I spent 10 years legitimizing our businesses specifically, so I could come find you without dragging you into darkness. But some stains don't wash out, Star. I'm still connected to things you shouldn't be near. Then why bring me here? Because I'm selfish. His voice rose, cracking. Because 15 years didn't erase you. Because every woman I met was compared to a 13-year-old girl who made me laugh in a library. Because I built an empire just so I could be worthy of you again. Star's eyes burned with tears. You were always worthy, you idiot. I didn't fall in love with your power. I fell in love with the boy who helped me with Korean homework. Past tense. His voice went soft, vulnerable. Fell in love. She stepped closer, close enough to touch.
Fine.
Present tense. I'm still in love with you. After 15 years and an ocean and a million reasons to move on, I'm still stupidly in love with Kang Shinwoo. He kissed her.
No Josetaschen. No askin permission.
15 years of hunger compressed into one desperate kiss. His hands cupped her face like she was fragile, precious, the most important thing in his world. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Shinwoo whispered, "Marry me." What? Marry me. Tomorrow. Next week. I don't care. I've waited 15 years. I'm not waiting anymore. You're insane. For you? Yes. He pulled out a box from his pocket. Inside was a ring. Not silver like their childhood tokens, but a black diamond that caught the light like midnight. This isn't a question, Star. This is a promise. You're mine. I'm yours, and nothing will separate us again. Star wanted to say yes. God, she wanted to. But something felt wrong. Too easy. Like the universe couldn't possibly be this kind after 15 years. Ask me again in a month, she said carefully. Let me finish my consultation work here. Let us remember how to be together as adults. Then I'll answer. Shinwoo looked like she'd stabbed him. But he nodded. 1 month. Then you're mine forever. 3 weeks later, Star's world exploded. She was having coffee with one of her Korean colleagues when a news alert flashed. Com Corporation under investigation. Alleged ties to organized crime. Her colleague gasped. Oh no, Mr. Kong. Star grabbed the woman's phone, reading frantically. Someone had leaked documents connecting the Kong family to historical criminal activities. Money laundering, extortion, murder, and buried in the evidence, photos of Shinwoo at 18 at a crime scene, holding a gun. The picture was damning.
Her phone rang.
Shinwoo, don't believe what you see, he said immediately. It's my father. He's trying to destroy me for taking his empire. The photos are real, but I never pulled that trigger. I refused, Star. That's why he beat me. This is his revenge. Did you know this was coming?
No.
I thought I'd buried it all. I was wrong. I'm coming to your office.
No.
Stay away. If you're seen with me now, you'll be dragged into this. I don't care.
Ikare.
His voice broke. You're everything, Star. I won't let my past destroy your future. Stay away from me until this is resolved. Shin. The line went dead. For the next week, Star watched from afar as Shinwoo's empire came under attack. His business partners distanced themselves. His allies turned. The media painted him as a criminal heir pretending at legitimacy. And he faced it alone. Star tried calling.
Blocked.
Tried visiting his office. Security turned her away. Tried sending messages through his assistant. Ignored. He was protecting her by pushing her away. And she hated him for it. Finally, she'd had enough. If Shinwoo thought she was the same girl who'd let his family separate them 15 years ago, he was dead wrong. Star Paisley walked into Kong Corporation's headquarters during a board meeting and demanded entrance. When security tried to stop her, she said 5 words that changed everything. I'm his fiancé. Let me in. Comment real ones fight. if you'd stand by someone during their darkest moment. Hit subscribe to Ebony and Pearl Stories if you can't stand people who abandon others when things get hard. Only fair-weather friends who care about reputation over loyalty won't engage. Which are you? The boardroom went silent when Star burst through the doors. 20 executives in expensive suits turned to stare. At the head of the table, Kang Shinwoo looked like he'd aged 10 years in a week, exhausted, furious, and barely holding together. Miss Paisley, his lawyer started. This is a private. I'm not leaving. Star walked straight to Shinwoo, ignoring everyone else. You don't get to protect me by disappearing. That's not how this works. Star, you shouldn't be here. His voice was rough, warning. Too bad. I am here. She turned to face the board. I'm Star Paisley, internationally recognized architect, completely legitimate businesswoman, and the woman who loves this man. If anyone has a problem with that, speak now. The head of legal cleared his throat. With all due respect, your association with Mr. Kong right now could damage your reputation. I don't care. You should. If the allegations against the Kong family prove true, they won't, Star interrupted, because Shinwoo spent 10 years legitimizing this company specifically to escape his father's legacy.
You all know that.
You've profited from his leadership. So either stand with him now, or admit you're cowards who only support people when it's convenient. One of the board members, an older woman named Director Choi, smiled slightly. You're either very brave or very foolish, Miss Paisley.
I'm loyal.
There's a difference. Director Choi looked at Shinwoo. She's fierce. I like her. I told her to stay away, Shinwoo said quietly. And I ignored you, Star shot back. What are you going to do about it? His expression cracked. Then, in front of his entire board, Kang Shinwoo stood and pulled Star into his arms. You're impossible. You love it.
Ido.
He kissed her forehead, not caring that 20 executives were witnessing this. But you're making yourself a target. Then we'll be targets together. She looked up at him. What's the plan? For the next 2 weeks, Star learned exactly what kind of man Shinwoo had become. Strategic, ruthless when necessary, but never cruel. He fought his father's accusations with a precision that came from years of preparation. He released financial records proving the company's legitimacy. He cooperated fully with investigators, showing them exactly how he'd transformed the organization. He gave interviews explaining his refusal to follow his father's path and released the hospital records from when his father had beaten him for that refusal at 18. The court of public opinion started to shift. But his father wasn't finished. He played his trump card, threatening to expose investors who'd been clients during the old regime. If Shinwoo didn't step down and return control, dozens of powerful families would be implicated. He's holding innocent people hostage, Shinwoo explained to Star one night in his apartment. They'd barely slept in days, living on coffee and determination. If I don't surrender, he'll destroy lives. So, we find another way. There is no other way. Star thought about this, about the boy who'd stood up to his father with a gun at 13. What if we expose him first? With evidence he can't deny. I don't have anything he doesn't have insurance against. But I might know someone who does. She pulled out her phone and made a call to a journalist friend in Atlanta who specialized in international crime reporting. Tell me about protecting sources. 3 days later, a major news organization released a documentary about the Kong family's criminal past, but with a twist. It focused on Shinwoo's father as the architect of violence and highlighted Shinwoo's decade-long effort to legitimize everything. It included interviews with former employees, reformed members of the organization, and victims who'd been compensated during Shinwoo's restructuring. The narrative flipped. Shinwoo wasn't a criminal heir. He was the son who'd fought to break the cycle. His father's threats lost their power when truth became public. The investigation concluded with Shinwoo cleared of wrongdoing. His father, however, faced charges. The old man tried one last act of revenge, hiring someone to attack Star. She was walking to her hotel when two men grabbed her in an alley. She screamed, fought, and managed to break free just as Shinwoo's security team, who'd been secretly following her for weeks, intervened. When Shinwoo arrived minutes later, he looked at the attackers with an expression Star had never seen before. Pure cold rage. "You touched her," he said quietly. His men tensed. "Shin, don't," Star said, recognizing what he was considering. "Don't become him. Don't let your father turn you into what he wanted." Shin Woo's hands shook. Then he looked at Star, bruised but safe, and his expression softened. "Call the police," he ordered his men. "We do this legally." That night, in his apartment, Star cleaned the cuts on her arms while Shinwoo paced like a caged animal. "I almost killed them," he admitted. "I wanted to, but you didn't. That's what matters. You could have died because of me. I chose to stay, Shin. I knew the risks." He stopped pacing and knelt in front of her. "I'm still asking. 1 month is over. Marry me, Star. Be my wife, my partner, my everything. I promise to protect you. I don't need protection. To respect you, to fight beside you, to never push you away again, even when I think I'm protecting you." She smiled. "Better. Is that a yes?" "One condition. Anything. We design our home together. Equal input. None of this I'll buy you a mansion nonsense." Shinwoo laughed, and it was the freest sound she'd heard from him since they reunited. "Deal. You design it, I'll fund it." "Then yes. I'll marry you, Kong Shinwoo." He slipped the black diamond ring onto her finger, next to the silver one she'd never removed. "I love you. I've loved you for 15 years, and I'll love you for 15,000 more. That's impractical. We'll be dead. Then I'll love your ghost." She kissed him, and 15 years of waiting finally felt worth it. Type real love fights if you believe true partnership means facing darkness together. Hit like if you can't stand people who run when things get dangerous. Only cowards who don't understand loyalty won't engage. You're not a coward, right? Prove it. They got married 3 months later in a ceremony that blended Korean and American traditions. Star wore a custom hanbok for the traditional ceremony, then changed into a white dress designed by her favorite black designer. Shinwoo cried during his vows, the first time his organization had seen their boss show that kind of vulnerability. 15 years ago, I made a promise to a 13-year-old girl, he said, voice thick with emotion. I promised to wait, to become someone worthy of her love, to find her no matter what. Today, I make a new promise, to be the man she deserves every single day for the rest of our lives. Star's vows were simpler. You are my first love, my only love. You're my forever love. Let's build something beautiful together. Director Choi, who'd become an unexpected ally, whispered to her husband. That boy waited 15 years for that woman. If that's not true love, nothing is. But marriage was just the beginning of their real story. Star merged her architecture firm with Kong Corporation's real estate division, creating a hybrid company focused on culturally responsive development. They designed buildings together, her creativity and his business acumen creating spaces that actually brought communities together. Their first major project, rebuilding the Han River Park area where they'd fallen in love as kids. Full circle, Star said, reviewing blueprints in their shared home office. At 29, she'd achieved everything she'd dreamed about at 12 and more. Not quite full circle yet, Shinwoo said, coming up behind her and wrapping his arms around her waist. We're missing something. What? Kids who'll sit on that same bench and make impossible promises. Star turned to face him. You want children? I want everything with you. Children, grandchildren, a legacy that isn't built on fear but on love. 2 years later, they had twins, a boy named River and a girl named Harper. Mixed race, gorgeous, and absolutely spoiled by grandparents who'd finally accepted their son's choice. Shinwoo's father, serving his sentence, wrote one letter. I was wrong. You built something I never could. A family held together by choice, not fear.
I'm sorry.
Shinwoo burned the letter. Too little, too late. But Star kept the ashes. Forgiveness isn't for him. It's for you. I'm not ready. Then we'll wait until you are. We're good at waiting. At 35, Shinwoo stepped back from day-to-day operations to focus on family. He and Star split their time between Seoul and Atlanta, raising their children with both cultures, teaching them Korean and English, feeding them kimchi and soul food. River loved architecture, like his mother. Harper loved strategy, like her father. One afternoon, when the twins were 10 years old, they visited Han River Park. River sat on the same bench where his parents' story began. Appa, he asked in Korean. Iyama says you waited 15 years for her. Is that true? Shinwoo looked at Star, who was sketching nearby with Harper. Even at 40, she took his breath away. Yes. That's a long time. It was worth it. What if she hadn't waited back? Shinwoo thought about the silver ring, the promise, the faith that kept them both tethered across an ocean. Then I would have waited longer. Some people are worth waiting a lifetime for. Harper, ever practical, wrinkled her nose. That's impractical. Love usually is, Star said, joining them. She sat on Shinwoo's lap, even though they were in public, not caring what anyone thought. But that's what makes it worth it. I'm never falling in love, Harper declared. Too complicated. River laughed. You say that now. Wait until you meet someone who makes you feel like the world stops. Wise words from a 10-year-old, Shinwoo teased. I learned from the best. That night, back in their Seoul home, Shinwoo and Star stood on their balcony watching the city lights. 17 years since their reunion, 32 years since they'd met as kids. Do you ever regret it? Star asked. The waiting, the fighting, the difficulty? Never. He pulled her closer. Every hard moment led us here. To this life, these kids, this love. We got lucky.
No, Shinwoo corrected.
We got stubborn. We refused to give up. She laughed.
True.
I'm marrying a mafia boss's son. My parents thought I was insane. You are a little insane, says the man who waited 15 years. The best kind of insane. He kissed her temple. You know what I realized? What? The promise I made at 14 wasn't about waiting 15 years. It was about choosing you every single day for the rest of my life. The waiting was just the beginning. Star turned to face him, cupping his face in her hands. Then choose me tomorrow, too. And the day after. And the day after that. Forever. Inside, their children were arguing about whose turn it was to choose the movie. Normal, beautiful chaos. The life they'd built from an impossible promise. Some people say, you can't sustain first love. That childhood promises don't survive the real world. That time and distance kill even the strongest feelings. Kang Shinwoo and Star Paisley proved them all wrong. They waited. They fought. They built an empire on stubbornness and refused to let go. And they lived happily ever after, not because it was easy, but because they chose each other every single day, just like they'd promised at 13 years old in a library in Seoul, when they were just kids who didn't know any better than to believe in forever. The camera pulls back, showing their family silhouetted against the Seoul skyline, the city they'd transformed together, building by building, promise by promise. This is their story. A story of patience and promises kept. Of love that refused to die. Of a Korean mafia boss who waited 15 years for his black queen, and a brilliant woman who never stopped believing that the boy who'd given her a silver ring would one day come back to claim her heart. They waited. They endured. They won. And their love story became the legend whispered in the same parks where it all began, inspiring a new generation to believe that true love doesn't follow rules or timelines or other people's expectations. True love does the impossible, waits the unthinkable, conquers the insurmountable. And when two hearts are truly meant to be together, not even 15 years, an ocean, a criminal empire, or every obstacle the universe can create will keep them apart. This was Kang Shin-woo and Star Paisley, the Mafia boss and his queen. Two kids who made an impossible promise and spent their entire lives keeping it. If this story touched your soul, hit that subscribe button and comment 15 years to honor everyone who's ever waited for true love. Share this with someone who believes in fighting for what matters. Only people who don't understand real love, loyalty, or patience will skip this. Only people who settle for less and give up too easily won't engage.
But you?
You're different. You believe love is worth the fight. So prove it. Subscribe, like, comment 15 years, and share this story. Because love stories like this remind us that sometimes, just sometimes, the wait is worth it, the fight matters, and true love really does conquer all. Thank you. Truly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for staying with Shin-woo and Star's story until the very end. That means more to us than you know. Now, I need to ask you for a favor, and I'm not too proud to beg. The algorithm hasn't been kind to us lately. Our videos aren't reaching as many people as they should, and honestly, it breaks our hearts. Because we pour everything into these stories, late nights, early mornings, all of us here at Ebony and Pearl Stories working to bring you love stories that make you feel something real. So here's where you come in. We need your help. Drop a comment right now. Anything, even just 15 years or beautiful story. Hit that like button. And please share this video. Send it to your friends, your family, your loved ones. Post it on your WhatsApp status. Share it on your socials. Help us tell the algorithm that this story matters. That's why we pause and ask for subscriptions and comments, not to annoy you, but because it's the only way YouTube knows to push this to others who need to hear it. If you truly enjoyed Shin-woo and Star's journey, show us. Show the algorithm. Help us reach more hearts. Thank you, every single one of you, for being part of this community. May love find you the way it found them. Worth the wait, worth the fight, and absolutely worth everything.